Welcome to In Loving Memory, a heartfelt space guided by Joseph to honor lives that left a deep and lasting imprint on the world. Here, we remember treasured individuals from film, music, culture, and beyond, reflecting on their achievements, their humanity, and the inspiration they shared. Through every tribute, their presence lives on in the hearts of those who remember them. Alan Osmond, the eldest member of the Osmonds, passed away at 76 after a long journey with multiple sclerosis lasting nearly 4 decades. He rose to prominence in the 1970s as part of the family group that became a defining name in pop music, reaching audiences across the world. Beyond fame, he was known for his steady presence, creativity, and the strong sense of care he brought to both family and work. Living with strength and change. For much of his life, Alan lived with a progressive illness that gradually changed his physical abilities. Even so, he adapted with patience and acceptance, choosing to focus on what he could still give rather than what he had lost. Over time, he developed a quieter outlook shaped by resilience, reflection, and endurance through long-term challenges. Dedication to others. Alan valued service and connection, continuing to encourage and support those around him, even when his health limited his activity. Whether through music, conversation, or simple presence, he remained committed to uplifting others. His approach reflected a belief that purpose continues in different forms, even when life changes direction. A lasting legacy. Alan Osmond is remembered for both his musical contribution and his personal strength. His life story reflects perseverance, compassion, and devotion to family. The impact he leaves behind continues through the people he influenced, offering a reminder of resilience and meaningful living. Daryl Sheets, widely known from Storage Wars, has passed away at 67. He was a familiar face in reality television and became a key part of a show that brought storage auctions into mainstream entertainment. Fans remember him for his bold personality and long-standing presence on screen. Career in storage auctions. Before television, Sheets built a long career in storage auctions spanning over 30 years. He worked in a high-risk trade where instinct and timing mattered. Nicknamed the Gambler, he was known for confident decisions and willingness to take chances in search of valuable finds. Television journey. When Storage Wars premiered in 2010, Sheets quickly became one of its standout personalities. His sharp eye for items and energetic bidding style made him a fan favorite. The show followed auction buyers competing for storage units, and his presence helped define its entertainment value across many seasons. Family and personal life. Outside of television, Sheets was often described as family-oriented. He shared a long-term relationship with Kimber Nesbitt Pino and worked alongside his son, Brandon Sheets, who also participated in auctions. His personal relationships were an important part of his life and identity beyond his public career. Legacy and impact. Daryl Sheets leaves behind a lasting legacy in reality television and the auction world. He helped turn a niche profession into widely watched entertainment. Fans continue to remember his bold approach, personality, and impact on Storage Wars, where his presence helped shape the show's enduring popularity. Gene Hackman, born January 30th, 1930, is widely regarded as one of the most versatile actors in American film. Known for his grounded natural performances, he built a career portraying complex characters ranging from lawmen to flawed anti-heroes, always bringing a sense of realism and emotional depth. Breakthrough roles. He rose to prominence in Hollywood during the late 1960s and early 1970s, steadily earning recognition for his strong screen presence. His breakthrough came with The French Connection, where his intense performance as a determined detective earned him critical acclaim and established him as a major leading actor. Craft and recognition, he continued to expand his range with films like The Conversation, where he portrayed a surveillance expert with quiet intensity, and later Unforgiven, in which he delivered a powerful performance that earned him another Academy Award. These roles showcased his ability to move between subtle drama and hard-edged storytelling with ease. Retirement and legacy. Across more than 80 films, Hackman earned lasting respect for his consistency and commitment to character-driven storytelling. After retiring from acting in 2004, he stepped away from public life, but his body of work continues to influence actors and filmmakers. His legacy remains defined by powerful performances and a remarkable sense of authenticity on screen. Jennifer Renan, known to many film fans for her appearance in Ghostbusters, has passed away at the age of 65. She is fondly remembered for her brief but unforgettable role in the film's opening sequence, where she appears in a humorous classroom experiment scene alongside Bill Murray's character. Though her screen time was short, it became one of those moments that audiences continued to recall years later for its charm and comedic timing. Acting career beyond her most widely recognized role, Renan built a steady acting career across film and television throughout the 1980s and early 1990s. She appeared in projects such as Up the Creek and A Very Brady Christmas, and became familiar to television audiences through her role in Charles in Charge. Her work across different genres, from light comedy to dramatic storytelling, showcased her adaptability as a performer. Television appearances. She also made guest appearances in several popular TV series of the time, including Quantum Leap, Magnum, P.I., and Murder, She Wrote, leaving behind a varied body of work that reflected her consistent presence in the industry. Legacy. Jennifer Renan is remembered for her warmth, professionalism, and the sincerity she brought to every role. Her performances continue to be appreciated by fans who grew up watching her work, keeping her legacy alive through familiar and nostalgic screen moments. Patrick Muldoon, best known for his work in Melrose Place and Days of Our Lives, has passed away at the age of 57. He became a familiar presence on television during the 1990s, building a strong fan following through both daytime and primetime roles. His popularity also extended into film, where he appeared in projects that kept him active in Hollywood for decades. Sudden passing at home reports shared by Family state that Muldoon passed away at his home in Los Angeles after experiencing a sudden medical emergency. He was found unresponsive, and despite immediate attention, he could not be revived. His passing has been described as unexpected, leaving those close to him and longtime fans deeply saddened. Career beyond early fame. Beyond his early success, Muldoon continued working steadily in the entertainment industry. He took on acting roles as well as behind-the-scenes work in production. In recent years, he remained involved in upcoming film projects, showing his ongoing commitment to storytelling and filmmaking. Remembering his presence. Those who worked with him often described him as energetic and passionate about his craft. His passing marks the loss of a recognizable figure from a defining era of television and film, leaving behind a legacy of memorable performances and lasting screen presence. At 53, Shaquille O'Neal sits in a home that once represented everything he worked for, yet now feels quieter than any arena he ever dominated. The trophies and championship rings still exist, but they no longer define the space or the man living in it. What remains is a body that carries the memory of decades of punishment and a mind shaped by both glory and loss. Every morning begins with stiffness, slow movements, and careful steps as he deals with constant back and joint pain. But beyond the physical struggle, there is reflection. Shaq is no longer measured by dunks or dominance, but by the life he built after the applause faded. In that stillness, he sees both his greatest victories and deepest regrets, realizing that the sound of silence can be heavier than any cheering crowd he once commanded. A childhood marked by absence and poverty. Shaquille O'Neal's journey begins in Newark, where survival often mattered more than dreams. Growing up without a father left a gap that no explanation could fill, and poverty shaped every part of his early reality. Life in a cramped apartment meant constant uncertainty, where basic comforts were rare and instability was normal. As a child, Shaq quickly learned that being different in size only made him stand out more in ways that weren't always kind. School became a place of labels and teasing, and home was a place of struggle and sacrifice. Yet even in hardship, there was resilience forming inside him. He didn't yet understand it, but the challenges of those early years were building the emotional foundation for everything that would come later. Pain, loneliness, and survival became the silent teachers that shaped his identity long before basketball ever entered the picture. A mother's strength and a childhood without comfort. At the center of Shaq's early life was his mother, Lucille, whose strength held the family together when everything else felt unstable. She worked tirelessly, often taking multiple jobs just to ensure basic survival. There were nights when electricity was uncertain and meals were shared with quiet sacrifice. Shaq witnessed her exhaustion, but also her unwavering commitment to keeping her children safe. Even when life offered little stability, she created emotional grounding in a world that lacked it. Yet despite her love, the absence of a father figure left a deep emotional silence that followed Shaq everywhere. He often saw other children walking with their fathers, and that simple image carried more weight than anything else he experienced. It wasn't material wealth he missed most. It was presence, guidance, and connection. Those early emotional gaps would quietly shape many of his decisions in adulthood, long before fame ever arrived. Discipline, structure, and a new father figure. Everything changed when Philip Arthur Harrison, a military sergeant, entered Shaq's life. He didn't arrive with softness or emotional promises, but with structure, discipline, and expectation. For a young boy searching for stability, this presence was both intimidating and grounding. Early mornings became routine, filled with physical training, repetition, and strict guidance. There was little verbal affection, but consistency itself became a form of care. Shaq learned discipline not through comfort, but through challenge. Harrison's influence shaped his mindset, teaching him responsibility, endurance, and focus. Though the relationship carried emotional complexity, it gave Shaq something he had never truly experienced before: direction. Over time, structure replaced chaos, and effort replaced uncertainty. Even without constant reassurance, Shaq began to understand that strength could be built, not just inherited. This foundation would later become essential in his transformation from a struggling child into a world-class athlete. Discovery of basketball and a path forward. Shaq's introduction to basketball was not just a hobby, but a turning point that shifted his entire future. A coach who recognized his potential saw more than size. He saw possibility. For the first time, Shaq was encouraged not because of what he lacked, but because of what he could become. The game quickly became an outlet where physicality turned into advantage and emotion found direction. At LSU, his talent began to fully emerge, and so did his mindset. Basketball was no longer just escape. It became purpose. Every practice carried intensity. Every game carried meaning. Beneath the dominance, however, was a deep internal drive fueled by fear of failure and a desire to never return to the instability of his past. The court became both battlefield and sanctuary, where he could transform pain into performance and uncertainty into power, slowly building a reputation that would soon reach the entire country. Rise at LSU and the weight of expectation. At LSU, Shaq became a force that opponents struggled to contain. His physical dominance was undeniable, but what people often missed was the emotional pressure driving him. Every game felt like a test of survival, not just skill. Success meant security, while failure symbolized return to a life he never wanted again. This mindset created intensity that fueled greatness, but also constant internal pressure. Scouts and fans began to see him as a future NBA star, but beneath the recognition was anxiety that rarely faded. He carried memories of childhood poverty and abandonment into every performance, using them as motivation and burden at the same time. Even as praise grew louder, so did his internal fear of losing everything. LSU became the stage where talent and trauma collided, producing one of the most dominant college players in the country, yet also a young man still fighting invisible battles. NBA stardom, conflict, and departure from the Lakers. When Shaq entered the NBA, he quickly became one of the most dominant forces the league had ever seen. Championships, MVP awards, and global fame followed as he led teams to victory and changed how the game was played. In Los Angeles, he reached the peak of his career alongside Kobe Bryant, forming one of the most successful yet complicated partnerships in basketball history. Their differences in personality and approach created tension that grew over time, amplified by media narratives and expectations. Despite winning championships together, their relationship fractured, leading to Shaq's eventual trade. Leaving Los Angeles felt like losing a home he had built with effort and sacrifice. The departure carried emotional weight, echoing earlier feelings of abandonment from childhood. For Shaq, it wasn't just a professional change. It was another reminder that even success does not guarantee permanence or belonging. Miami's success and the reality of physical decline. In Miami, Shaq found another championship, proving he still had greatness left in him. Alongside Dwyane Wade, he helped bring the franchise its first title, adding another defining moment to his legacy. But beneath the success, his body was beginning to show signs of years of punishment. Injuries accumulated, recovery became slower, and performance began to shift. What once came naturally now required effort and adjustment. Shaq started to realize that time was no longer on his side. While fans saw highlights, he felt the growing limitations in every movement. The game he once dominated was now becoming physically demanding in a new way. Even success could not hide the truth that his peak years were behind him. Miami represented both triumph and transition, marking the beginning of the end of his era as an unstoppable force in professional basketball. Final seasons and the slow end of a career. Shaq's final years in the NBA were spent with different teams, each representing a step closer to retirement. Phoenix, Cleveland, and Boston became chapters of adaptation rather than dominance. His role changed from leading scorer to veteran presence, guiding younger players while managing his own physical decline. Injuries became constant companions, and movement required careful effort. The explosiveness that once defined him had faded, replaced by experience and wisdom. Eventually, his final injury confirmed what had long been approaching: the end of his playing career. Retirement did not come with celebration or closure in the way he imagined. Instead, it came quietly, without grand farewell moments. Walking away from the game meant leaving behind not just competition, but identity. The transition was emotional, marking the end of a life built entirely around performance, pressure, and public expectation. Personal loss, family struggles, and emotional pain beyond basketball. Shaq faced deep personal challenges that shaped his emotional world. His marriage ended after years of strain, marked by mistakes and regret that he later openly acknowledged. The divorce left emotional emptiness that success could not repair. Later, the loss of his sister Aisha to cancer became one of the most painful moments of his life, breaking him in ways no game ever had. Soon after, his son's serious health condition brought fear into his family life, forcing him to confront vulnerability as a father. These experiences stripped away the image of invincibility he carried for years. Shaq realized that emotional pain often cuts deeper than physical injury. Family, once a source of strength, became an area of both joy and heartbreak, reminding him that no amount of fame can shield a person from life's most personal struggles. Redemption through giving and a life redefined. In his later years, Shaq found meaning not in basketball or fame, but in helping others. He began quietly supporting families, paying bills, funding education, and offering assistance without recognition. These acts were not about publicity, but reflection, an attempt to give others what he once lacked. Through generosity, he began to heal parts of himself that success never touched. His business ventures also grew, but always with a focus on purpose rather than display. Investments, philanthropy, and mentorship became central to his identity. More importantly, he began to understand that legacy is not built only through achievement, but through impact on others. At 53, Shaq lives with both pain and peace, aware that his journey was shaped by hardship but defined by growth. His story becomes not just one of greatness in sport, but transformation through struggle into lasting meaning.